So how much you want to bet that when one of these solo Justice League movies bombs, like a Cyborg movie or an Aquaman movie, that they A, try to shoehorn in Batman, or they abandon all the solo movies and just decide to do Batman, Superman movies, and Justice League movies, similar to how they handled their DC animated properties now. Now, these guys can take a lesson from Marvel with how they've handled Iron Man. Because the Iron Man movie, similar to that Green Lantern movie, was, of course, the beginning of their cinematic universe. So the Green Lantern movie, they wanted to do the same thing, and that movie failed, and they had to scrap that and start from scratch with the cinematic universe thing with Man of Steel. Now, you know, it's hard to kind of remember a time when Iron Man was like a Green Lantern, Aquaman level hero. But 10 years ago, that was the reality. Iron Man now, thanks to basically on the back of Robert Downey Jr., has arguably become Marvel's most important character. He went from being like B level to being, at least at the level of Captain America, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, if not surpassing that. And the reason why that Iron Man movie was such a good launch pad for a cinematic universe was because it was a good movie. And the difference is that Green Lantern movie was bad, right? Obviously, it wasn't that like Green Lantern wasn't like recognizable enough. I mean, it was the same with Iron Man. Iron Man, he was Green Lantern level when that first Iron Man movie came out, but people responded to it. So yeah, I know I'm going off on a huge tangent here. I'm supposed to be talking about the character of Oliver Queen and all that, but this Batman stuff needs to be said. So, believe me, I got a lot to say about it. Still got a lot more to say about it. So there's people who are defending Arrow season 3. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? People are actually defending it. And one of the things they're defending, the two biggest things they're defending, one is the Ra's al Ghul's a villain thing, and the other thing is the Laurel Black Canaries thing. So I'll address both of those. So for now, I'm just gonna focus on the Ra's al Ghul thing. And even before I get into what the actual criticism is, again, this is gonna be a bit of a tangent too. To me, it seems like the people who are defending Arrow season 3 don't they're not really trying to understand what the actual criticism is. They're just taking what people are saying and overgeneralizing what they're saying to make the arguments seem stupid. And it's like no matter what you say to them, whatever your argument is, they just say no to. And that's it. And without getting into politics and political things and stuff of that nature, because I really don't like talking about that kind of stuff. Because people are gonna believe what they want to believe, and I'm not some kind of crusader that's just gonna try to change people's minds. But let's just say, okay, this is a political party, and I pretty much don't agree with anything that they believe or what they do. But I can still understand where they're coming from. I can understand why they would come to the conclusions that they come to. I don't agree with them. I think at the end of the day they're wrong, but I can understand why they would come to those conclusions. And it seems like the people who defend Arrow season 3 don't they're incapable of doing that. They're just gonna just say no. They're just gonna totally dismiss you. They can't just have the attitude of yeah, okay, I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from. it just comes off as dismissive. Okay, but so enough of that. But so their defense of the use of the Ra's al Ghul character is that apparently people like me who criticize the use of that character as the big villain of the season, and it's not even really revealed he's the big villain of the season until the second half of the season, and we'll get into that once we start talking about the actual episodes and the horrible pacing. One of the other friggin' god awful, terrible problems with this season is the god awful pacing. That, okay, where were we? Yeah, Ra's al Ghul. So that they're defending the use of Ra's al Ghul, and the people like me who criticize the use of that character don't realize that this is supposed to be a universe of characters. Yeah, I don't realize that. Yeah, okay. No, I get that. Believe me, I get that. I went over that in the my first couple of videos when I was talking about the Flash and things, and yeah, I have a problem with that. So that in itself is a problem. Like like I don't like the stupid crossovers and how the crossovers don't work, and I don't like Arrow as being part of a larger universe because it screws with the suspension of disbelief and things like that. So that right there I have a problem with. Right? So, and the other thing is like, well, they bring up the example of the Daredevil TV show where they're using the Kingpin, who is a Spider-Man villain, in their show as the big villain. But okay, do I even have to spell out why that's like a stupid example? Kingpin is just as much as a freaking Daredevil villain as he is a Punisher villain and a Spider-Man villain. Ra's al Ghul is a Batman villain. He is not a Green Arrow villain. That's the difference. And that in itself wouldn't be that bad, because I guess you would say to me, well, last season they used Brother Blood as one of the big villains, and he's a freaking Teen Titans villain. Okay, so it's kind of I admit it's kind of a little bit difficult to kind of articulate what the big problem is with it, but it boils down to this: it's that they're doing a Batman villain in a Green Arrow show, a Batman villain with a Batman storyline, and they're writing Green Arrow as though he is Batman. It's those three things combined. The main problem being that they're writing Green Arrow as Batman. But it's when you combine those three things in tandem is what makes it such a problem. It's not so much that they're using Ra's al Ghul. It's that it's the Batman storyline with the Batman character with the Batman villain. When I want to see a Green Arrow show, that's what the problem is. It's in I may be reading into this too much, but it's almost the opposite of what they did with the Bruce Timm DC animated stuff, where they started with Batman, then did Superman, then they did Justice League Unlimited, where they went from Batman, Superman to expanding to the greater DC universe. It's almost as though this show started in the greater DC universe, then they regressed to just doing Batman stuff. And hopefully this trend doesn't continue, and it does look like it's going in the right direction, because next season it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing Batman stuff. They're going to be doing the more obscure DC stuff, which I liked. And that's what I wanted to see out of the show. And the thing with Ra's al Ghul is that, like, it was better, like, in the first couple seasons, where he was just he's really not even mentioned in the first, a little bit, but it's more like in the second season, where he's just talked about, but he's not actually seen. and that adds to the mystique of him. That is better, in my opinion. Because, League of Assassins exists in the Green Arrow universe of the comics, right? But there's no big story with Green Arrow versus Ra's al Ghul. And it's just it's like the mystique of Ra's al Ghul. I think that was like better. Like it was like the second season where you got like a couple token League of Assassins episodes here and there, but you never actually see the guy. It's like Gene Simmons without the makeup. It's just like it was better when he was the demon and not just some old rich Jewish guy with a reality show. It's like Yoda in the original trilogy where they told you he was like this badass Jedi warrior. And then you see him in episode 2 where he's just like this like green CGI piece of shit flipping around. It's stupid. Like I didn't want to see that. It's almost better if it just goes unseen. And one of the things about using Ra's al Ghul 2 is that he's like it's a very fine line that they're treading where he's so attached to Batman that it's like it's almost as though Batman would have to exist in this universe, but we know since they don't have permission to use Batman, Batman can exist in this universe. So it'd be like Commissioner Gordon showing up, or Batgirl showing up, or Alfred showing up, but yet there's no Batman. It would just seem weird. So it's very dangerously treading that line, and it's almost like it. I would say it would be very dangerous to even introduce Batman in any way, shape, or form in this show. I don't mind the really, really obscure references, like the Harley Quinn cameo, the quote-unquote cameo last season in the Suicide Squad episode, or the Wayne Tech merger thing that's mentioned in the Flash future newspaper headline thing. I don't mind that stuff, but then you're gonna start having this like thing where people are gonna want to see Batman on the show, and it's almost like at that point you're gonna have the audience expectations that Batman's gonna be around, and then you're almost gonna be forcing the CW to pretty much agree to like a legitimate Batman show spinoff. And it's the thing again with the Brother Blood thing. Brother Blood, even though he's a Teen Titans villain, he's so obscure that it's not that big of a deal. Using any kind of big Batman character, just because Batman is so big, he's such like a pop culture phenomenon, if you will, is that it's gonna overshadow like anything else you do on that show. And Batman has gotten his due. He's gotten more movies than any other DC freaking character. It's time to move on, people. Move on from freaking Batman. He's had his, he has his place. He has his place in the big DC cinematic universe. I just want my damn Green Arrow show. I want to see Green Arrow do some shit. We're probably not going to get Green Arrow in the movies anytime soon. So let's just keep Batman out of this. And let me just have my damn Green Arrow show that I was promised in the first couple seasons. Next video we're going to be talking about the concept of the TV show Arrow and how how important that is to how much I did like the show prior to the season.